Tabby Freeman, welcome. How's it going?
It's going pretty good.
So, you've been doing digital art and putting it online for what, the past 10 years now? And you've
Yeah,
probably done thousands of different things?
yeah, thereabouts. I started out on DeviantArt back in, I want to say around 2006 to 2008. So around 10 years or so. Just kind of left that website in the dust and focused more on Tumblr and Instagram and Twitter nowadays. But yeah, DeviantArt back in '06 to '08, the beginning.
Is there any particular reason why you ended up leaving DeviantArt, or just the community is not
Um,
great?
well, the community, well, it jumped from DeviantArt to Tumblr, and DeviantArt at the time, I was getting more and more people badgering me for free stuff or like trying to take advantage of my prices on commissions and just getting odd requests where I was like, this is just exhausting. I don't have the mental capacity for this. But I was like, this website seems like it's being less like a ton of art and more, I don't know, geared towards one particular crowd, at least from what I was seeing. So I just moved over to Tumblr, and that seemed to be where everybody was moving anyway. So it kind of worked out.
You've gone through so many different art styles and choices and visual directions. Are there any styles or design phases that have really stood out to you, or you even still like now? Or do you just kind of avoid going through all the archives and stuff like so many of us do?
I think my art style is kind of stuck about the same. I don't know. It's nice to touch base with like older stuff and be influenced obviously by other artists that you see online. Like I'll see somebody's eyes, the way they do their eyes, and I'll be like, oh, that's cool. I'll want to check out and see if I can do that. But it doesn't obviously work out the way that I think it will because it's the way they do it. Yeah, I'm not sure. That's that might be a difficult question for me to answer, not
Yeah,
awkwardly.
it's just kind of going through some of your stuff. It's in the past 2 years or so, you've kind of stuck with the style that you're doing now, and kind of developed that more into what it currently is. But you also have gone through stuff. I don't know, a more anime style in the beginning, and
Yeah, it varies quite a bit. Like whenever I do my daily comics, or whenever I used to do the daily comics, I had to have a quick art style that I didn't have to focus a lot of time on. So like the big eyes, not really any nose at all, just goofy, quick. It was compared to like Steven Universe and Adventure Time and stuff like that, just because of the simplicity of it on the outside. But and then like whenever I do commissions and whatnot, it's more towards like kind of anime, but not really. It's like a realism anime. I don't know how quite to peg down the right description for it, but yeah, I just bounce around, and I've lately been to drawing like realistic skulls and stuff like that. It's just I flip flop all over, and there's not really any consistency, unfortunately. I wish there was, but
so people who do know of you, they probably found you because of your long distance relationship comic series from 2015 ish. That I mean, it's just a sad good series, is what it is. So besides from you going through that, where did the idea to actually make the comic come from?
well, at the time, I was obviously in a long distance relationship, my first one, and it was just something that I felt pretty darn like beside myself being alone and not being able to physically hang out with them and stuff. So I just made those comics to pass the time and like hopefully connect with other people. I mean, that was obviously like the second reason why I did it was to connect with others who were maybe going through the same thing. But first and foremost, I did it as like a form of, I wouldn't necessarily call it therapy, but just like a release, like something to just get off my chest, as most like personal diary comics are. And then it took off like crazy. People loved it. And then unfortunately the relationship ended. And then the comics blew up like crazy, crazy popular. They were on like Imgur, and like somebody posted it on Reddit, and they had tons and tons of views. And I was getting floods of people emailing me and messaging me like, oh, thank you for your comics. These are great. These really helped me through. How are you in a relationship? And I'm like, oh, that relationship's kind of done. And there for a while, I wanted to delete them all, but they seem to help so many people. I'm just going to leave them up. It's already in the past. But
I
yeah,
think for myself, when I had first seen them, I've never gone through that kind of thing that you have, but there is something that we can all relate to in that aspect of sadness or going through something really troubling. And it was nice to relate to that and kind of enjoy the entertainment value that did come out of it.
I'm just glad. I'm glad that people like them and enjoy with them and still like connect on that. Excuse me, um, that level of, I don't know, just understanding it and getting it, because it's something that not a lot of people, I think, could relate to. Especially people online can probably relate to it, but people offline, like in the quote unquote quote real world, don't
What
necessarily.
is that?
Yeah, exactly. Like whenever I was in my first relationship, long distance relationship, and then again with the second one, it's like a closed relationship where we're living together and stuff. So it worked out a lot better in the end. But most people in my life in the real world, the offline world, just they didn't get it. They didn't understand, like, well, how are you in a relationship with somebody who's not physically here? How can you be in a relationship with somebody who's, 4 hours away, blah, 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 like 4 hours away time zone wise. Like it just,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just not something that many people can get behind. And it seems like more people online can, obviously, because it's the home of, relationships and stuff is the internet for online LDR stuff. But I don't know. It's nice that people can relate to it, I guess. It's a good time.
So you've also done a good bit of fan band art, it's certainly gotten more eyes on your art, for better or worse. But we'll come back to that in a little bit. What artists have you done fan art so far for, and who do you think you'd like to do in the future?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. So, gosh, the first band art that I did was Panic at the Disco, which has been the only band I've really loved like since they came out in 2005. It's the only real band that I latched onto, and I did that fan art back in like 2008, and didn't really like I didn't post it to anything or tag them in it because this was before. I mean, Twitter might have been around, but it was before I was on Twitter and stuff. I really interacted with people. But I've loved doing like fan art or like lyric art and whatnot, because music's such an integral part of like me drawing. I just put on Spotify now, but I used to put on my Zune library and put in a CD and just crank it and draw. But recently I've just been doing a ton of Panic art. DNCE, they're like a funky pop band. Joe Jonas's new band from the Jonas Brothers. What else have I done? I think I did some My Chemical Romance lately. Not sure. I just any band that I'm really into, I'll listen to, and if it's a band that I think that they'll enjoy the art from, then I'll draw something and tag it in them just in case they may like it. Oh, Two Tone Disco, they're fantastic. They're like an electronic duo. I'm going through my Instagram right now trying to find more because it's just it's mainly just like Panic and D and C. Yeah. In the future, I probably. Oh, I don't know who I'd want to draw. Oh, Bastille. I did Bastille art. I don't know. It's just fun music that I latch onto. Not necessarily anybody in particular that I stumble across on Spotify, but just music that I listen to repeatedly. I want to do some Gorillaz art real bad. Mostly because the concert's coming up in September that we're gonna go to. So that'd be fun to make something get amped up for it.
Now, looking at your work, I think it's really evident that you give a lot of consideration into choosing a color palette for whatever piece you're working on. Is this something that comes naturally to you, or you just spend an infinite amount of time figuring all that out?
Ooh, well, I always shade with a particular color, so that in itself gives me some sort of unity throughout the piece. And then I also have a gradient overlay that I throw on the piece afterwards, and it's usually the same gradient. It's like a purple to like a yellow, and then it's everything in between those two colors that just slaps on there. And then I do a layer mode on Photoshop with it. But if I'm stuck with a color palette for like an original piece or something, there's actually a web browser extension on Chrome that whenever I click a new tab, I think it's called Color Cooler. Let me see if I can pop it up. Color Hunt. So Color Hunt, if I just open a new tab on my web browser, it'll pop up like a 4 to 6 color palette, and then I can just pull off of there. That or the other thing that I've seen a ton of people do that I haven't yet to do, but I want to, is like take a picture of something and then make it super like pixelated and pick colors based off of that. Or I think there's websites that actually do that too, that you can toss images into and they'll pull up color palette from. But more often than not, it's just from my head. But if I'm really stuck, or if I want to do something that's a little different and I know what kind of color theme that I want to go with, I'll go to the Color Hunt website that I use. But just the base shading and the overlay I use on everything, so it makes it kind of look like it all belongs together.
Nice. So, because a portion of your work is commissions, considering that can take your skills somewhere you haven't been before, do you enjoy doing commissions work, and kind of what's been your general experience doing that?
Commissions are awesome. I like
Not just the money aspect, right?
when, oh no, 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 no. Like the money is obviously like it's necessary. I actually said this on stream yesterday. I hate that we have to have money because it's just literally it's just dirty paper to me, or like virtual dirty paper, because most of the money from commissions is all PayPal stuff. But like it's a necessity. You know, you have to have money to pay your bills, especially whenever you're living on your own with like maybe one or two people. You gotta make your living somehow. But commissions in general are fantastic because I love drawing other people's characters. I love drawing other people. I love the stories behind the commissions that people want to get. So like I'll get, especially with the long distance relationship comics when they blew up, I had so many people wanting me to draw them and their significant other that I don't really have time to do it, unfortunately, to take on every single one. But it's so nice to see like the stories of people who come to me to want me to illustrate part of their life or something that's near and dear to them. Obviously, you'll get some really strange requests that I don't necessarily feel comfortable with taking on. And then obviously you'll have some people who like aren't too pleased with like commission prices or maybe turnaround time or stuff. But that's just one in like 500 that happens. It's not very often. But commissions in general are fantastic. I don't know. I love it. If I had an infinite amount of time and I didn't have to work my other job, then I would take them on as much as I possibly could.
Yeah. So could you then kind of describe your current workflow, start to finish making of a piece?
Well, I'll sketch out like a base pose or something, and that usually takes me the longest because I'm god awful, in my opinion, with posing and like layouts as far as the canvas goes in piece. So sketching will take the longest. It takes usually like 2 to 4 hours, depending on how many characters I have to draw. And then from there, I'll just like refine the sketch down. And then if you've ever seen any speed arts, I'll usually start the speed arts at the final sketch form because it's taken me so long to sketch in the first place. But then I'll just line everything and then throw in some color, like the base color. And then from there, and this might, I don't know, depending on if you're familiar with like Manga Studio or anything like that, I'll just toss like clip layers above the flat layer. So it'll have separate layers for everything. So I'll have a separate layer for skin, a separate layer for hair, the clothes, the background, eyes, all that stuff. So I can go in and manually change everything whenever I want it to and not necessarily touch other aspects of it. And then I'll just shade it, toss a filter on it, sharpen it, call it done. Not super difficult process, but it just takes some time.
I kind of imagine a lot of people, a lot of digital artists, and have a very similar workflow to that. Maybe just between the programs that they work with or how they think about kind of the cell shading or whatever process they do.
And there's so many different types of like how you go about coloring a piece too. I think my personal way of coloring has changed 5 to 10 times throughout the entire time that I've started. Like when I first started, when my parents got me my first Wacom tablet and like a little Photoshop Elements is what I used to draw in. I didn't know the first thing about layers. I didn't know the first thing about the program. I literally just drew on there. I did, excuse me, I did like a sketch and then I would line it and then I'd realize, oh, well, I have to color this. So then I'd color it on top of the lining and then I'll have to reline it and then my shading and stuff. Oh God, my old art. But then I'd do my shading wouldn't even be like the colors and stuff that I use now or anywhere close to it. It would literally be the dodge and the burn tool, which are tools for photo editing to make things a little darker and lighter. And I swore that's how people did it whenever I first started. I was like, oh, this is how they shade or this is how they highlight stuff. And it's just like, it's an airbrush and it looked so gaudy and awful. When it's done right, like there are a ton of people on DeviantArt and Tumblr and everywhere online who can do those tools really well. But starting off, it was not good. But going from that to where I am now, it's such a quicker process even though it takes me still like 4 to 7 hours to complete a piece all the way done. But and everybody has their own way of doing it too. Like I'll do magic wand tool and lasso tool and paint bucket tool is what I do to like color my stuff in the entire time. It's whereas before it was just I would paint by numbers, essentially just color it like a coloring book, and I didn't use any of the tools that were at my disposal in Photoshop at the time.
10 years of art, growing artistically. Are there any artists whose work you really admire or whose work has really had an effect on your own work?
There is a ton of artists who I love. The first one that sticks out to me the most is whenever I first started DeviantArt, Matt Cummings, Eiffel Art, and I think he deleted his DeviantArt, but he's still on Twitter and like Tumblr. I think he might have an Instagram as well. But his art, like the cell shaded, like animes, this slight cartoony art that he did and his backgrounds, I think his backgrounds right now are freaking amazing and astonishing. And I didn't think that he could get any better than he already was, but he's bumped it up like a new level. He's fantastic. But he used to do like a ton of, and he still does it, I guess, the like Zelda tribute pieces and Pokemon tribute pieces and Mega Man and all this fan art of all these games that I grew up playing and loving. And his art style was just perfect. Like it was everything that I wish that my art could be and everything that I thought that my art could potentially be. So he was like my number one influence whenever I started DeviantArt. And then there's like getting into more like painty people, like paint style stuff. Sam Spratt is one of my all-time favorite artists. He does cover arts for bands like Janelle Monáe, and he did Foxy Shazam and Logic's new album, and well, he did a good chunk of Logic's older albums too. What else has he done? He's done a good chunk of stuff. He's done art for Game Informer and all these big, awesome brands that are coming to him, and his art's just, it's phenomenal. It's realistic, but it's that painty, like, I don't know how to describing art in general is so hard for me.
Especially on like, audio for all of the wonderful listeners.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a disaster. Oh my God. But like I'll have to send a link and maybe you can put it in the description or something. But it's fantastic. I'm sure if somebody has picked up a Game Informer or listened to any of those CDs, like the artist, they're probably familiar with Sam's work because it's
looking at some of it. I would kind of describe it as almost a stylized, hyper-realistic art form.
Yeah, it's very like there's no real sense of like my art and his art are in two completely different realms, and the aspect of his is definitely super realistic. There's not any hard lines. There's no, everything just it works well together. It looks like it's stuff that you would see hanging up in an art gallery somewhere, like a Renaissance painting stuff. I don't know. It's nice. It's really good art.
To my eyes, it's almost a bit reminiscent of someone like Norman Rockwell, who does kind of the still lifes and stuff like that.
Yeah, his process is awesome too. Like I've watched some of his speed arts where he does everything and he'll sketch it out and he'll do everything in grayscale and then he'll paint on top of that the color. And I don't know, I guess a ton of artists do it that way, but I can't do grayscale very well, so it never really clicks with me to do it that way. But I don't know how he does it. It's fantastic. It's great. I love his work so much.
It makes me think of a video that I watched not too long ago. Talking about people who colorize black and white photos and just the amount of effort that goes into that. Like, yeah, we found this thing from the 1920s. And so we contacted like 1,400 different museums to ask about the exact possible color of the beads of this Indian chieftain's helmet and what bird the feathers came from and, the age of the bird. And it's like why? Just color it. Yeah,
the colorized recreations of actual images that are going to be put either in private collections of people who, they're collectors of this sort of stuff or history buffs and stuff. They want to get it as accurate as possible. Like if it's I can't imagine your mom and pop being like, well, I need to know exactly what shade that this tire rim is and stuff like that. Like, I don't think many people would be that accurate with it as long as you're staying true to like the main colors, but it's insane.
Exactly how many grains of sugar go into the cake.
Yeah, exactly. But it's insane. Like I didn't think that much work went into it. I thought it was just as simple as, okay, well, this is this shade of blue. This is this, he was this like shade of skin, like just the basics, and they just went with it. But I didn't realize that there was that much like investigating and researching that went into it. I think we may have watched the same video, because the one that I was watching was very in depth, and I don't know, it's crazy. The stuff that we can do with modern technology is amazing. It's just good. And I realized I was saying it's a lot.
Because I kind of had this conversation with Jay Foreman, who was on the first episode of the show. Go watch that. And we talked about video editing, which is something that I have as an associate's degree skill that's completely useless to me.
Oh, no.
Kind of having that, it's like, okay, well, I know this advanced editing technique, or I know how to do this, and then there's somebody that comes with even more formal training, or even less, and that does something completely different with the exact same tools, and it's like, but how?
Yeah. And that's going back to like what I was talking about with like how people color, or how people go about their like shading or whatever. Like it's crazy seeing what people can do with X amount of tools. So it just, watching YouTube videos and stuff, it opens your eyes to, well, I could have been doing this a lot faster this way, or I could have done it and got a better result if I used this tool instead of this tool. Or if I combine the lasso tool with my airbrush tool, then I could start a gradient here without actually using the gradient tool. I could just do it. Why didn't I think of doing that way? It's just, people are amazing. Artists and just people in general are amazing.
There are people doing some crazy, amazing stuff out there.
Oh, yeah.
So that it leads me on to a question, probably a question you get asked all the time. What program and equipment do you use to make all your art with?
Oh, dang. Okay. Settle in, kids.
Story time.
I know how to answer this. Yeah. Well, I've answered this so many times that I can do this. I don't have to be awkward about this question. So programs I use. I have a Wacom Intuos 5 medium tablet that I draw everything on. I used to have a Bamboo, which was like one of those cheap $40 ones. It's one of the ones that my parents got me back in like 2006 or 2008, around in there. Whenever I first started drawing, they got me that, and I used that up until probably 3 or 4 years ago, whenever a friend of mine knew somebody who was selling this Intuos. And the Intuos, it's right now, it still retails for around like $300 or so, which is, no, I can't. It works really well, and I love it to death, but I couldn't see myself spending $300 on it, especially when my port's busted and stuff. But I use that to draw. I do all my sketching, to line art, to shading in my Clip Studio Paint, and then I export it as a PSD and put it into Photoshop for like effects, whether I want to make it sharpened or grainy, or if I want to put a particular like my gradient on it, any weird effects that I might want to put on it, like the post drawing stuff. I use, right now I have my PC that I built. I don't know all the specs off the top of my head actually, but it runs everything pretty well. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Paint Tool Sai I used a lot. That's a free program that's fantastic for drawing and painting. But Clip Studio Paint I got on sale, so I bought it for like $25, and it's great. Other than that, Photoshop. I use my speed art stuff. I do Camtasia for recording like my screen, and OBS for recording screen, and then Camtasia for like editing everything together. What else do I use? I think that's pretty much it. I'm a pretty simple gal.
Now, just to kind of nullify all of what you just said, for anybody that wants to be an amazing at digital art, does the equipment really matter?
No, definitely not. Like I've seen people draw a million times better than what I could ever hope to draw with ballpoint pen on a piece of like graphite or graphics paper, like the graph paper. Gosh dang it, I can't talk. But yeah, like it's your own skill and your own adaptability to whatever you're using. I've seen people do incredible stuff in Paint, like MS Paint, and it doesn't really matter. I used a little Bamboo Wacom that had the lowest pressure sensitivity, which is how accurate the pen reads to a real pen. I used that for years and years and years and years. And to be 110% honest with you, I don't see much difference between that and my Intuos that I'm using now. But that's mainly because I do cell shading, so everything's flat to begin with. If I had a more painty style like Sam does, I'm sure I'd see a difference in it. But it depends on what you're what you're trying to do. If you're doing cell shading stuff, I'd say you're good with the bare minimum tablet stuff. You could even get away with doing stuff. iPads and Surface Pro tablets are fantastic. They're a little expensive, but yeah, you could, it really doesn't matter what you use. People always have had the mentality of, I shouldn't say always, because not everybody has that mentality. I saw it more whenever I was on DeviantArt, people asking like, well, what do you use? And should I get this to do this? Getting a Cintiq, which is the tablet that you draw directly on the screen, or a Unova, or whatever variation of the screen drawing tablet that you want to get, that's not going to make you a better artist than whenever you had the $40 Bamboo Wacom tablet. Like, if that makes sense. It's all down to your personal growth and your style. So yeah, long story short, no. No, it does not matter.
You've created a bunch of one-off characters that have could become really amazing comics and have just fantastic backstories. Are we going to see anything done with those, or no?
Ideally, in a perfect world, yes. But I think the most for now that anybody's going to see of any of my original characters is, and I'm sure I've kind of teased at it, or I've blatantly said it a couple times on Twitter, but it's nothing that everybody knows about. The Skullgirl, the 90s Skullgirl that I drew, she is going to be a new iOS sticker pack, and we're going to be hoping to put her on like Line and Android as well. But right now it's just going to be iOS stuff, and I'm like 90% done with doing that. So hopefully within the next month or two, she'll be up for purchase to send some emojis and stuff to all your friends if you have an iPhone.
And speaking of sticker packs, you have one of your cat Echo.
Yeah!
What was that like to make?
Really nerve-wracking, actually. Thankfully, I didn't have to do any like coding stuff that I'm not familiar with. My friend Jason, who used to live in the area, but now he lives up in Washington, he approached me last year whenever the iOS 10 was coming out and was like, hey, how do you feel about making animated sticker packs for the launch? Because they're going to have the sticker packs. You can drop it on messages, and I don't know, it's really cool. I don't have an iPhone, so I can't like firsthand see it. But I was like, you know what? Sure. Why not? We'll do that. So he gave me a time frame to do it, and we didn't know what we were going to do. I was like, well, what if I what if I do my cat Echo? Everybody likes cats, right? And he's like, yeah, let's just do that. So I made like 20 or so. I can't remember how many I made, but yeah, I did a lot of those. It was a ton of fun. I made 2 to 3 static images for the animation, and then he tossed it into, I think it's it's something
Xcode,
X.
yeah.
Yes, Xcode. Yeah, I don't have a Mac at all, so I'm not 100% sure with the program names and stuff. He used his Apple Magic and put it to life. They look smooth. I saw like the preview, because I guess you can record the screen and stuff on iPhones. But I saw the preview of it whenever he sent it to me, and they look nice. I wish I had an iPhone just for it, but I like my Android too much.
Well, maybe when you get that Android pack out.
Yeah. I applied for Facebook. I sent Facebook a sticker pack application to try to get the Echo stuff on there. I haven't heard back from them because I'm sure they have an influx of people applying, and plus I'm sure there's a million other people who have funnier and non-cat related that's been done a million times packs out there.
The internet has enough cats on it,
Yeah, that's how I was feeling too. I was like, I don't think they're gonna go for this, but I'll try anyway. But if Facebook ever does it, then I use Facebook Messenger like every day. That's the only messaging app besides WhatsApp that I use. I would have to, if it came to Line, I would have to, go and get it and download it for just like a one-time use, because I don't know anybody online. I don't use Line. I wish it was like a universal thing like iMessage, but
yeah, nope.
No such luck.
Nope. No. Gonna be a while before that would have to happen.
Oh yeah, Android's a little behind on that.
So with all these people looking at your cat stickers, your band art, your comics, some of it has attracted a less desirable demographic of people, who it's probably safe to say are just the scum of the earth. Who are they? What are they doing? And why do you think they're doing it?
They're trying to make a quick buck, or they're trying to attract attention to their pages without doing any work themselves. They're the art thieves. They're the people online. If you follow any artist online, I'm sure that you've seen them post or vent about it happening to them. Unfortunately, it's been happening more often than I'd like in the recent month, to me. But it's just people seeing your art online, right click save as, then they're just slapping it on a crappy t-shirt site or posting it on their website without any tags, which, to be fair, I don't care if it's like one person. I use this as an example, like my old long distance relationship comics, when those were featured on like Board Panda, and I think it was on Imgur, and then one other website, I can't remember what it was, but whenever they were featured on there, it had hundreds of thousands of people looking at it. So obviously people were seeing it and saving it or relating to it or whatever. And I've had quite a bit of people save it and then upload it to their Instagram account. And then somebody who follows me will see that on that Instagram account and be like, well, this is Tabby's art, and they'll message me about it. And usually if it's just one person, say it's a girl in a long distance relationship and she just wanted to repost the comic, but she didn't know exactly who the artist was. And she just posted it that one time and she was like, oh, I love this. This relates to me so much. I don't care about that. That's A-okay. Like, sure, a tag would be nice. Like, oh, hey, this art's done by Tabby. More often than not, my signature is on there, or like my website is on there for my comics anyway. The issue I have with it is whenever, and this is something that I ran across last week or the week before, is people making accounts on Instagram or Twitter or whatever and stealing art off Tumblr or Google Images, not crediting the artist, and using that art to promote their page. So this page on Instagram it was all Overwatch fan art. And they just took random fan art, didn't care about who it was. They just said credit to the artist. They didn't even put any effort into looking up who it was. Even if they took it directly from the artist's site, they didn't care. They just put down all their hashtags and they said their little description, credit to the artist, done, slapped it up there. And it had like thousands of likes and stuff on there. And people like, oh, this is great. Who's the artist? And I commented because there was 3 people who follow me on Instagram messaged me and were like, hey, this account has your art on there. And I messaged them about it and they just blocked me. And I was like, what? That's kind of, but I was like, oh, this is real messed up. So I went and I wrote a message and there. I was like, oh, hey, I'm the artist, blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm glad that you like the art, but could you please maybe tag me in it? Because obviously it's my art and you're using it to further your account type thing. And then people on there, and there were other people who were trying to defend me on there before I even got there. I mean, like, oh, this is Tabby's art. This is her art. Like, go support her. And then people were attacking the people who were defending me, being like, well, it's not that deep. It's not that serious of a thing. And then everybody was like in a giant fight over it. And I got blocked from the page. Like, they wiped me from existence. So I couldn't see anything. All the while, everybody is like sending me screenshots of all the arguing that's going on in the comments. And then finally, I don't know how, but I can't see the image itself on Instagram. Maybe it's because I reported it. Maybe it's not. I'm not sure. But I can see their page again. I can't see the art itself. But they messaged me and they're like, sure thing, with like a sticky tongue out emoji. And I was like, okay, really? Was that hard to do? Like, it took like 12 people going and berating your account.
So they don't possibly have the time, but with all the thievery.
Yeah, well, it just sucks, especially with the long distance stuff. Like, that gets stolen all the time and put up on like websites that are promoting long distance relationships, which I'm glad that it's getting those eyes and like people seeing it and being appreciative of it and liking it. But it just bothers me whenever people are trying to make money off of stuff that other people created. That's what bothers me.
So, kind of besides from just being an annoyance to you, how do you see this affecting you and other people in the community of this having it happen to them?
Well, like, I don't know. I hate going back to like the money thing, but whenever people are stealing art, putting it on crappy, like, I've seen my Diva shirt, my Diva from Overwatch art that I did on so many stolen websites. It's not going, any of that money is not going to me. It's not going to, any other creator that gets their art stolen. It's going to whoever the yahoo is online who stole it. What the main issue is it's not directing eyes and traffic back to the original creator and supporting the creator. It's supporting the thief. Like, that's the issue.
It's encouraging them to continue, basically.
Correct. Yeah. And then whenever you send like messages being like, oh, well, hey, this is my art, and you don't get any response back, or you get blocked from the page, it's sucky. It's a crappy feeling that, my effort and my time and my love for what I created doesn't matter more than you trying to make an extra buck, you know? Like I created the diva thing as just like a print to go and sell at a convention that I went to, or just as, I haven't played Overwatch, but I love the character designs. And I was like, oh, you know what? Diva's my favorite just based off of looks alone. She's great. She's in a mech. She's this cute gamer girl. Love it. I'm going to draw a picture of her. And then it went over super well, but it's just unfortunately gotten stolen so many times. It's just, it sucks. I don't know any other thing to say.
I mean, is
just,
there anything you can really do about it, or?
Besides taking like legal action and stuff like that, I think I read somewhere that you could like copyright your images, but when you're dealing with fan art, you really can't do that, I don't think, because it's already, you know, it's somebody else's IP that you're just making fan art of, which is already such a like a tricky line to navigate as in itself. You can't copyright an image that you made of another copyrighted thing, you know. But like if it's my own original stuff, like my Echo stuff has been traced over and copied a ton of times since I posted that pack. And then like my Skullgirl thing, I'm a little worried about that. So those two things I feel like I should go and copyright, and then I could be like, oh hey, I can sue you legally for doing this. But most cases, not everybody has money to afford, you know, lawyers and stuff to get into it, because it's going to cost more money to do a lawsuit than it would to.
In closing, is there anything you're working on right now that you want to plug or hype or anything?
Not necessarily anything that like project wise. I'm gonna be posting more on my Patreon, patreon.com/tabracadabra, and I post like comics and work in progress and art and stuff there before I post it anywhere else online. And then people get like their monthly goodies, whether that's exclusive prints or stickers or buttons or what have you. Besides the Skullgirl sticker pack that's coming out, there's really not too much that I'm working on, unfortunately. My other job has me pretty much tied up with free time. But yeah, other than that, it's just whatever I feel like doodling and posting on the Twitter sphere.
Well, it's awesome. I mean, keep at it.
Thanks.
And finally, where can people find you online?
My handles are usually Tabracadabra. So Tabracadabra on Instagram, Twitter, Patreon. My Ticktail is my shop for my prints, because I do all the prints in-house myself. Art of Tabby on Tumblr, and that's pretty much it. I don't have a Facebook. I don't have anything else other than those. pretty few websites that I post on.
Awesome. Well, hopefully more people will go and check out your stuff and buy a legitimate t-shirt.
Yeah. Oh, TeePublic. Yeah, that's the only place that you can buy an actual t-shirt of mine is TeePublic /Tabracadabra.
Tabby Freeman, thank you for being on. Thank you for your time. It was a pleasure.